Thanks for having me, Chris. And my name is Nikki Katz. I lead digital at Bank of America. And my team and I are responsible for digital channels supporting our 58 million verified digital clients.
And what would you say are the top three things keeping you up at night as it relates to work and your challenges?
I was going to say I have four things named kids that keep me up at night, but outside of those, I don't know if there's three things. I think there's really one big thing, which is just a sense of excitement. Technology is always evolving, but it feels like we're at this point where there's just been an acceleration and an explosion of innovation, and it's really creating with new technology. It's creating opportunities for new ways to interact with our clients and service them. And so I feel a great sense of responsibility to make sure that we're really doing our best to leverage new technology in order to continue to deliver great client experiences for our clients.
And we'll double click on that in a second. But first, maybe to zoom out a little bit, what do you think will define the next era of banking? What are the big mega trends that you're seeing?
Well, we've been on this journey of really shifting from a product focused way of doing digital banking to much more of a relationship focused way of thinking. And I think that that is going to be the next era is really looking at creating these digital financial hubs where the relationship for the client is in the center, where their needs are at the center. So everything is personalized, everything is proactive, predictive. And so that really is going to change the way things are going forward. And we're already seeing that. So for us, we consolidated all of our client relationships into one mobile app. And with that, we saw a huge implosion or explosion in terms of our mobile usage. And today we're at, 48 million, over 48 million active digital clients. Similarly, with Erica, which is our AI financial assistant, Erica continues to deliver proactive insights, telling someone, hey, you may want to pay attention. One of your recurring subscriptions has gone up, as an example. And it's been hugely helpful for our clients. Our clients have interacted with Erica over 2.5 billion times since we launched. So just as a couple of examples of what this new era is already shaping up to be, much more personalized, client at the center of everything.
So you mentioned consolidation earlier, and a lot of the most common challenges that I hear from other banks is around working around legacy tech and the limitations and constraints that that brings. So if you had a magic wand and you could start a brand new bank from scratch today, what would that look like if you didn't have to worry about um, manipulating what you're kind of left with?
Yeah, that's always the fun. That's always the fun question. I think I'm a big believer in what we used to call human-centered design, and so everything is client-centered. And I would start with really understanding what are the client needs. It kind of goes to the last point: is it's not about a banking product, a credit card, a deposit account. It's really about what is the client trying to achieve in their lives. What are their goals? What are their needs? And I would start there and design around that. And what that looks like is probably deep integration. So as an example, if you're making a payment to your friend, you just split dinner, and you're making a payment, we want to make sure that that's a great moment to show you this is how that fits into your spending goals or your savings goals. And this is what this means down the road for your financial plan. So those are the kinds of things that I think about in terms of how I would design from scratch today. I think the other piece that's important too is I feel like in banking often employee systems are an afterthought, and one of the things that we're really thinking about is we believe in this high tech, high touch approach to banking, and so that really requires us to not only deliver great high tech products for our clients, but also ensure that when they need human assistance, our associates are empowered with really great tools and technology as well, so that they can provide best in class service. So if I were to do it from scratch, I would make sure clients are at the center of everything, but that associates and employees are not far behind, and that we're building right out the gate for seamless integration between those experiences.
Makes sense. So on that note, you talked about building. How do you determine whether you want to build something in-house or whether you acquire a piece of technology or perhaps just partner with a fintech, let's say? What's the thought process there to decide which one path you're going to go down?
To be honest, for us, just because of who we are and the scale at which we operate, we have very rigorous governance, security, privacy kind of policies. And so for us, we're very selective in who we partner with. And we end up building a lot of stuff in-house because of that, because not everybody can meet our requirements. That said, when we consider whether to build, buy, license, et cetera, the first thing I always think about is, is this differentiated? Is this something that's a real differentiator for us? Because if so, we may want to invest in building it ourselves more so than otherwise. The second consideration is always, time to market, cost, the usual considerations where is it easier to just pick something up that's already available? And then the last piece, and this is not in that order, these are all kind of equally important, but the last piece is always going to be exactly what I started with, which is, can they meet our security requirements? Can they operate transparently enough where we feel good in what we're giving our clients? So those are some of the considerations. And as a result, we do end up building a lot of stuff in-house and as well as using hybrid of, open source, third party and in-house built technology.
So again, building on that then, what are some of the trends that you are paying particularly close attention to now? For example, within digital banking, what do you think is being overhyped perhaps? And is there anything that people are overlooking or something that's being underestimated?
Yeah, it's funny. Had you asked me that 2 years ago, my answer would have been very different because I think 2 years ago we were at the top of a pretty significant hype curve. I would say that the hype level's gone down in general, whether you're talking about, virtual reality or artificial intelligence. A couple of years ago, people were really talking all about the tech and what it can do. And I think the dialogue has shifted much more to what can it deliver to the business. And, as we're talking, you're not going to hear me talking a lot about AI for AI's sake or any technology for its own sake. It's really how does this enable us to deliver in the business that we're in? And how does it allow us to better serve our clients? And so I think you're seeing the whole industry in general kind of start asking those questions of what's the value, what's the return, what is this doing for my customer? And so I think we're coming out of that hype curve a little bit. As far as what's potentially underhyped, I think one of the things that my peers may not agree with me, but I think that we're underestimating as an industry where our clients are and their readiness to trust and adopt AI specifically. And I'm a power user in my personal life, and yet it still never ceases to amaze me just how much this technology can really improve my own productivity. And as we're doing our own research and talking to clients, et cetera, we're hearing the same. They're very much ready to almost get much more towards a set and forget kind of a mode. Trust the system, give it data, see what comes back with. And of course, I think they're able to say that because we've built so much trust with our clients. They know that we're very rigorous about privacy and security and those very important elements. So that's almost baseline, goes without saying. You have to have that as a foundation. But assuming you do, I think clients are very much ready to engage in new ways and to adopt new technology.
Talking about adoption, you mentioned that you perhaps look to build where it makes sense, but in the few cases where you do choose to partner with fintechs, what's your process like there? What's the best way for a fintech, perhaps curious and interested in working with you? How should they approach you, and what should they anticipate that journey to look like?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think oftentimes smaller companies, fintechs, et cetera, they don't deal with the same scale that we do. And so when you come to the table, you're speaking different languages because of that. And so I think the best way to engage a company like Bank of America is to come with an understanding of what does governance look like? What are the privacy and security requirements? And be ready to meet those. It's again, that's almost that's the first gate. That's the first door you have to get through. I mean, then assuming that you're able to meet those, I think the other big lesson that I've learned and I would share is start small, do a pilot, test something. And then if it works, you're going to have built so much trust that it'll be much easier to take the next step. But oftentimes I think people come in and they want to do a full deep integration, and it's much harder to do it that way than to just do something small, pilot, and make sure that it works first.
And you already mentioned AI and that you explicitly not going to focus on that, but obviously people are super curious and super interesting. What can you tell us around what you're doing there, and how do you balance adopting it for perhaps increasing productivity, as you alluded to, whilst at the same time, again, to your point, take the customer on a bit of a journey so they feel comfortable adopting this or interacting with these platforms?
I think it all starts with trust. So I don't necessarily see contention between those 2 points. At Bank of America, trust is at the core of our relationship with our clients. And so that looks like very, very rigorous governance procedures. We look at transparency. We look at, what we're doing with data, privacy, security, all the things I've already mentioned. And that's the foundation upon which we can build. And so once we have that trust with clients, I think what we're able to do then is what we've done, which is, we launched Erica, our AI virtual assistant, 7 years ago already. We were the first widely available financial assistant in market at that time. And, to this day, clients can interact with Erica, using spoken word, text, on-screen gestures. And Erica can provide so many different capabilities that it continues to drive just a high level of interaction for our clients. So again, I don't think the two are in conflict, because I think that assuming there is that trust foundation, clients see the value. And as long as they're seeing the value and they're able to get things done more efficiently, more effectively, be more productive, and get insights, which is the biggest part of what Erica really does, is it highlights for a client things that they might not otherwise know to look at or notice. And so that's where we're driving value for clients and making them want to continue to engage.
So, what would you say has been some of the biggest challenges to do your job, to embark on this digital transformation journey and take the whole bank with you? Any tips, insights, how you've been able to navigate that?
Yeah, it's we've been on this journey of digital transformation for over a decade at this point, and I wouldn't say that it's been hard so much as it's just very complex because of the scale that we operate at. And so, with 69 million clients, we have to be very thoughtful about everything we do. Every move can impact a large number of people, and so. We employ the same advice that I gave to fintechs. We take ourselves. So we always start with at a smaller scale. We pilot big changes before we roll out to everybody, and so we move in a very thoughtful way, in that way, deliberate way. And so we do a lot to maintain that trust that we've built with clients, and yet we're still able to innovate at a rapid rate. We make over 1,000 enhancements to our digital systems every year. And some of those are very large and very obvious to our clients. Some of those are much more subtle behind the scenes. But we're constantly able to balance that the complexity with still moving at speed.
So, if you were to dream a little bit about what's next, what are you the most excited about when it comes to products and propositions that you will be involved in delivering relating to finance or banking in general?
Yeah, and this is where I will say the dreaded AI word, and that's because I think the thing I'm most excited about is, again, not AI for AI's sake, but just the fact that new technology in general is opening up new doors for us. And so whether that's in terms of just efficiency on the back office and being able to process things faster and automate and do more with less and be able to free up our people for more value add work, or on the client support side, making our associates be that much more effective at supporting our clients. And so whether that's, we have a bunch of different things in the works. So whether that's enabling bankers to better prepare for client meetings, or enabling our associates who are on the phone with clients to better support them and have access to more information, more details, better answers, or whether it's directly client facing and giving them the power and the tools to be able to really deliver on our promise of making financial lives better.
Nikki, thank you very much for that thoughtful and interesting insight.
Thanks, Chris. It's been a pleasure.